Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with finally, at least it seems like, finally, number 10 of my 22 Shots of Appreciation, the series that I decided to start, well, to show appreciation to the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror, the podcast that I know we are just going out of our minds to hear back online again. Anyway, so it's my little shout out to the guys, Moods, JP, and as it was back in the day, Jeremy, and the movies that I got into my collection either as directly or indirectly as a result of listening to that podcast. And one of them, well, for episode 10, of course, we already know because I got it on the menu screen. It is Black Sunday. Mario Bava. I think it was episode 64, director spotlight on Mr. Bava, and I think it was Black Sunday, Blood and Black Lace, and Bay of Blood. The three movies that are highlighted. So, just so I don't forget, if you have not seen Black Sunday, you want to hear a great review of not just the film but the director, good discussion of three of his films, then episode 64 of the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror. Episode 64 is where you want to go and listen. It's a great show. Anyway, so here's my keynote edition of Black Sunday, and of course it wouldn't be for episode 64 and hearing these guys, and I'm sure that's not the only time Black Sunday gets mentioned. So I had a chance to buy some movies one day, and I decided, you know what, it's I'm just gonna go and grab it. I don't usually buy movies without having seen them first. This is really a new thing for me, and I think We Are Still Here I bought without having seen it, and man, I love that movie. Black Sunday is another one. This movie is almost hypnotic. The shading of the black and white, it is a black and white film, 1960, and the cinematography is absolutely unbelievable. Really, the story just revolves around a witch who is condemned along with her servant, Jibudo, and for, of course, a number of crimes, some that are sort of just nodded to, one of which perhaps might have been incest. I mean, it's kind of creepy when you really, if you listen to the commentary and you just really watch and try to pay attention. I've only seen it a handful of times, and every time it's something else is surfacing. It's a weird movie. And especially in light of the recent commentary on the Facebook group for The Witch. A lot of people have been talking about that, and so it seems appropriate for episode 10 that I talk about Black Sunday. Now again, this witch gets convicted. She has the mask of Satan or death impaled on her face, and along with her servant, and before though she pronounces a curse, man, and it's one of those, I've heard it said and I love it too, she's like, man, I am coming back. I am going to come back in a big way. And it takes 200 years, but through the sort of the bumblingness of two doctors who are on their way to a medical conference, her tomb gets disturbed, and as a result, she is unleashed to fulfill this curse 200 years after the fact. And it is an amazing movie. And of course, well, the two, on their way end up at the place of the prince who becomes the focal point of this witch's curse, and as she, ultimately descends and breaks out and creates all sorts of havoc. A lot of just, I almost wish, I almost wish I could review it, but that's not the purpose of this one. You want a good review, a good talk on this, episode 64 again, but some of the imagery, it's just interesting. Again, a lot of weird shade, or not weird, but interesting shading of the black and white. It's almost gives it a hypnotic feel. And it's interesting that Mario Bava, now I'm a big fan of his son too, Lamberto Bava. Of course, the two main movies, his Demons films, and of course, you know, Mario's father, who he was influenced by, and Lamberto, who was influenced by his father. But just a lot, so much going on in this movie. One of the things of which interesting is the power of religious symbols. The cross throughout the film holds a lot of really holds a lot of power, and there is a clear, almost line of demarcation of what is good and what is evil. And although the evil, well, I guess I should be careful what I say. Let me just stay right there and just say there is a clear line of what is evil, what is good. But also too, he emphasizes the weakness of man, but the power of the cross it's interesting. It does have the power of warding off this evil, and I guess I ought to be careful how much I say. If you haven't seen this, you really need to see it. It is a phenomenal movie. Again, it's almost hypnotically, unbelievably, just wow. It is neat. H.P. Lovecraft. You know, I've searched long and hard for some connection, and I can't find any written. But when you watch it, I mean, I've read quite a bit of Lovecraft, and I've heard it said that Mario Bava's favorite author was H.P. Lovecraft. I've heard it said, and I'm not sure exactly if it's true or not, but there seems to be influence there, even though it's not obvious. There seems to be just the idea of something that force of nature that just almost wills itself into our world to even overtake, consume, and ultimately destroy and conquer. This is a Lovecraft theme. Of course, Lovecraft wrote on witches, dreams in a witch house, the shunned house. Pickman's model too, the idea of a painting holding the hypnotic power of being able to sway man's mind as well. It is just an absolutely, it's incredible. And the one thing I do want to say, there is one scene with Chibuto where, and I almost feel like Carpenter might have, you know that in Halloween there's that moment towards the end where Michael just slowly appears out of the blackness, the white shading of his mask just kind of comes through. And there's a scene, I remember it's 1960, there's a scene where Chibuto, the paleness of his face sort of comes through the blackness in a similar way, and it makes me wonder if that's where Carpenter got that sort of suggestion from. And it's anyways, there's so much in this movie. It's quite a treat. But I do know too, this is the Kino again edition. I know there's an Arrow release, which I would say if you don't own it, if you're like me and you don't like really buying films that you haven't seen yet, then you know, just grab a cheap copy of the Kino edition. But if you don't mind just taking the word of you know, let's say the guys at the 22 Shots, or even what I'm telling you, go ahead and grab the Arrow release. I hear it's a phenomenal release, and I may end up ultimately getting that at some point down the line. So anyways, episode 10, the 22 Shots of Appreciation. Of course, I'm VHS 82 apostrophe, and hit the like button if you like. I guess this will wrap it up. And just wanted to spend a couple minutes again and talk about Black Sunday, again, 1960, Mario Bava. And again, this is my number 10 episode of my 22 Shots of Appreciation. I would not have this movie if it wasn't for the guys, Moods, JP, Jeremy, over there at the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror podcast. And I wouldn't have it in my collection if it wasn't for them. And so, again, that was episode 64. You go check out. And have a great Memorial Day weekend, and as always, go Bills.
One of these days, I'm going to catch you. This is